Somewhere tonight, in a quiet bedroom, a person will suddenly wake up at 2 a.m. with no reason and no memory of doing so. They will lie awake for an hour, staring at the ceiling, thinking their sleep is broken and something is wrong with them. But nothing is wrong with them, and nothing is broken. Their body is doing exactly what humans did for thousands of years. Every single human ancestor of yours, going back before written history, slept in 2 separate shifts every single night. This ancient pattern has a name, Biphasic sleep, and tonight we tell you the story of what your body still remembers doing. In 2001, an American historian named Roger Ekirch published a discovery that quietly rewrote our understanding of what human sleep actually is. After 20 years of searching through medieval diaries, court records, plays, poems, and letters, he found the same clue over and over. Every historical document mentioned 2 sleeps, not one. A first sleep, an hour or 2 awake, and then a second sleep before dawn. He found this pattern in over 500 separate historical texts, from as far apart as ancient Rome, medieval England, and colonial Africa. This was not a regional custom or cultural quirk. Biphasic sleep was the default human sleep pattern everywhere on Earth for all history. People went to bed around 9 at night and slept deeply for about 4 hours until midnight or 1 in the morning. Then, without setting an alarm, without any effort, everyone in the household would wake up naturally for what they called the watch. This middle-of-night wake period lasted 1 to 2 hours and was considered as normal and expected as breakfast the next morning. In French, it was called dorveille, a beautiful word combining sleep and waking, the quiet hour between 2 sleeps. Then people would fall back asleep around 2 or 3 in the morning and sleep for another 4 hours until sunrise woke them up. So a full night of sleep before electric light looked nothing like what you probably think it should look like today. The interesting question, of course, is what people actually did during that quiet middle-of-night hour they called the watch. The historical records are surprisingly detailed, and what they reveal about this lost hour is both mundane and quietly beautiful. Many people prayed. The middle of the night was considered the most spiritually powerful time to speak directly with the divine. Some read by candlelight. The quiet mind after first sleep was considered the sharpest and most receptive time for study or contemplation. Some wrote. Many of the great essays, letters, and poems of history were composed during these quiet hours between 2 sleeps. Some visited quietly with neighbors, particularly in rural villages where doors were rarely locked and the night belonged to everyone equally. Married couples often used this hour for intimacy. Historical medical texts specifically recommended it as the ideal time for conceiving children. Others simply lay awake in the dark, thinking quietly, letting their mind wander through the strange soft space between 2 long sleeps. Whatever they chose to do, everyone across all of history considered this middle wake period completely normal, never a problem to be solved. But how do we know this was truly a biological pattern and not just a cultural choice that happened to spread everywhere? The answer came in 1992 when an American sleep researcher named Thomas Ware conducted one of the most beautiful experiments in modern science. He took a group of ordinary modern volunteers and put them into a room with 14 hours of complete darkness every single night. For the first week, the volunteers slept like modern humans do, 8 straight hours in a single continuous block, waking up at dawn. But then, without any instruction and without any warning, every single volunteer began to change how they were sleeping in the darkness. They started falling asleep for 4 hours, waking up naturally for 1 to 2 hours, and then falling back asleep for another 4 hours. The modern volunteers, given enough darkness, had spontaneously returned to the exact biphasic sleep pattern of their pre-industrial ancestors. Even more surprising, the volunteers described the middle wake period as being one of the most peaceful states they had ever felt. Their bodies produced high levels of prolactin, the same calm hormone that nursing mothers produce, giving them a quiet, meditative feeling. This finding proved something remarkable. Biphasic sleep is not a cultural habit. It is your biological default when the modern world lets you rest. So the question then becomes obvious. What happened to biphasic sleep, and why does almost nobody in the modern world sleep this way anymore? The answer, like so many things about modern life, comes down to a single invention that quietly and completely changed everything about being human. In the late 1800s, cheap and safe artificial light suddenly became widely available across Europe and North America for the first time in history. Before this moment, once the sun went down, humans had at most a few candles or one oil lamp to push back the dark. Nighttime was long and dark. People had no reason to stay up past sunset because there was simply nothing much to see or do. But by 1900, gas lamps lit city streets, oil lamps burned brighter, and eventually Edison's electric bulb reached ordinary bedrooms across the world. Suddenly the world could stay bright late into the night. Factories ran evening shifts, families read after dinner, entertainment moved past 9 at night. Bedtime pushed later and later until 9 at night became 10, then 11, then midnight, then well past 1 in the morning. With fewer hours available for sleep, humans quietly compressed their two-sleep night into a single continuous 8-hour block against their own biology. By the year 1920, references to first sleep and second sleep had almost completely disappeared from the writings and diaries of ordinary people. By 1950, doctors were treating the middle-of-night wake-up as insomnia, a medical problem to be fixed with sleeping pills and behavior therapy. In less than 100 years, we had erased a sleep pattern that had defined human nights since long before written history even began. But biology does not forget things quickly, and this is where the story becomes personal and quietly returns to your own bedroom. When you wake up at 3 a.m. tonight, unable to fall back asleep, feeling frustrated and alone, your body is not malfunctioning at all. Your body is simply trying to do what it was designed to do: wake up peacefully in the middle of a long biphasic night. The moment you check your phone at 3 a.m., your stress response kicks in and pushes the second sleep completely away for hours. People of the past never thought there was anything wrong with being awake at 3 a.m. They used that time to be quietly human. They would pray, read, write letters, or simply lie in the soft dark and let their thoughts wander through the middle of the night. Modern culture teaches us to fear insomnia, but what we call insomnia is often just an ancient rhythm knocking gently at the door. Your ancestors woke up in the dark hours of night for over 100,000 years, never afraid and never trying to treat it. In some parts of the world, biphasic sleep still exists today, hidden in plain sight if you know where to look for it. The Mediterranean siesta as a fragment of biphasic sleep, a strong afternoon nap plus a shorter overnight sleep, split across the 24-hour day. The Japanese practice of inamuri, where workers openly nap in offices and meetings, is another quiet survival of the same ancestral rhythm. Certain monastic communities in Europe still practice a night vigil, waking around 2 a.m. to pray, then returning to sleep for another few hours. Small children, before they are trained by modern schedules, naturally sleep in short segments with quiet wakeful periods scattered through the night. Even elderly people, who often wake up multiple times per night, are simply returning to the biphasic pattern their bodies remembered all along. So the modern sleep industry, worth over $500 billion globally, is largely built on the idea that biphasic sleep is a disease. But biphasic sleep is not a disease. It is the ancient truth of who you are and what your body was made to do. Next time you wake at 2 or 3 in the morning, try something ancient. Leave your phone alone. Do not turn on the light. Lie quietly in the soft dark. Feel your body settle, and let the ancient rhythm carry you gently back into your second sleep. This is what your ancestors did for over 100,000 years, and it is what your body still remembers how to do. You do not need a pill, or a therapy, or an app, or a complicated bedtime routine borrowed from wellness influencers online. You need what every human before you needed: a truly dark bedroom, a quiet mind, and permission to sleep like a human. Sleep is not something to fix, or optimize, or hack. Sleep is a very old and gentle inheritance you were born already knowing. Sleep well tonight. And if you happen to wake at 3 a.m., remember, an entire chorus of ancestors is quietly awake with you.